Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to my sports show here on Puritans Radio. Today, I have a very, very special episode in store for you as I take you both to Cardiff and to Nottingham as I witnessed Wales's first home Guinness Six Nations triumph for 4 years and their first win in the Six Nations for 3 whole years. Then last Wednesday, I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to go to the Motorpoint Arena for my first ever time to watch the Challenge Cup final between our two nearest teams, the Genting Casino Coventry Blaze and the Nottingham Panthers. And that in itself was very interesting indeed. And very memorable for several reasons. But I will spill all of the beans regarding that evening a bit later on in the show. So you might want to keep listening if you want to find out a fun story. I will round off today's podcast by giving you an update on the Elite League title race and simultaneously which teams are still in the running for the sole United Kingdom Challenger League Champions Hockey League spot for 2026-2027. There was also a very special announcement made by GB Selectors midweek, and I'll tell you all about that at the end. So, once again, make sure to stay tuned this afternoon. So, without further ado, then, it is time for me to get down to business, and I will start in South Wales with the rugby, and then I will give you a full ice hockey roundup later on in the programme. On a glorious sunny day, Cardiff was loud and vociferous, not least because there was expectation of a first home win in a very, very long time. Welsh rugby has been in turmoil in recent years as issues to do with the regions have ramped up and because a generation of players all retired in the months following the 2023 World Cup in France that autumn. But this Saturday, it was back to the glory days for Wales, with hymns and arias being sung with pride and passion after hardly any time in the game as Wales gradually got on top in the contest. Indeed, after narrowly losing to Scotland and unfairly losing to Ireland in Dublin, there was a reason Steve Tandy, the players and the fans alike were all expecting a result this time around, and they were not disappointed. For the large part, Wales were very composed as well. After a few shaky line-out throws at the beginning, Derry Lake, the captain and the hooker, was absolutely fantastic. And it was from the set piece that Aaron Wainwright scored both his and Wales's first try of the afternoon as he picked a superb inside running line in midfield. Dan Edwards, on song with the boot, unlike his opposite number, Paolo Garbisi, gave the hosts a well-deserved 7-0 lead after the Italian fly-half fluffed his lines when attempting a relatively straightforward kick a few minutes earlier. Shortly after this, Wainwright doubled his tally of tries for the afternoon after a powerful maul and a few pick and drives from the forwards. Wainwright powered his way over in the left corner. Initially uncertain of a grounding, Christoph Ridley, exemplary with the whistle on the day, sent it upstairs to the television match official. There was the option of a penalty try for a deliberately collapsed maul, but because the number 8 did touch the whitewash when grounding it, the try was given. It was Wainwright's first ever brace of tries when wearing the Welsh jersey, and once again Edwards nailed his touchline conversion attempt. Derry Lake, the captain standing in for Jack Morgan this year, scored off the back of a line-out drive on the other side of the field. It was 21-0, which no one, even the most avid of Welsh fans, would have expected when entering the venue. And Wales earned another breakdown penalty on the stroke of half-time. It would have been a simple 3 points to take with another 40 minutes to get the bonus point try, and in hindsight it was a poor decision not to extend their lead to 24 points, but in the end it did not matter, even though it did get edgy in the fourth and final quarter of the encounter. Indeed, that is because Wales began the second half as they started the first one, much to the relief of anxious Welsh fans. The hosts were full of energy and ultimately keen to get the crucial bonus point score. It came through Dan Edwards himself, who then, a few minutes later, had the nous and the wherewithal to nail a 40-metre drop goal off the back of a goal line dropout after one of his teammates had been held up over the try line just a few seconds earlier. It was almost the loudest cheer of the day, and at 31-0 up, suddenly overturning that 100-point swing against England to avoid the wooden spoon seemed possible. Who would have said that at the start of the afternoon? As I said just a moment ago, Wales were on top with a 31-0 advantage after 50 plus minutes, and then came the Italian storm, and it is fair to say when it rained, it poured. Whilst the game may have seemed over as a contest, a few Italian tries, including from Tommaso Allen and Paolo Garbisi, did make it edgy. A brilliant effort from Ellis Meath, the Welsh right winger, prevented Montejuani from scoring, and another Italian knock-on, thanks to great Welsh goal line defence, meant Italy finished with just 3 tries in the end, thus meaning that the Italians came away with nothing, when at one point it began to look as though they might have been able to steal 2 bonus points. On another day, Italy could have made it a very tense finish, but it was not to be. That Saturday, so the 14th of March, it was about Welsh pride being reinstalled, and it is a win that the 69,775 people who were in attendance will remember for a very, very long time, especially as it was the first one in the Principality Stadium for 1,461 days off the top of my head, or alternatively since that 20 points to 17 victory against Scotland in round 2 in February 2022, which really is a long, long time ago. Well, that really, really was an exciting and thrilling game, and as a fan's perspective, it was just wonderful to see the Welsh players out there enjoying themselves on the field after such a long time without a win, but also just being able to switch off and put the misery behind them and have fun was incredible. That really was a special afternoon. But now I will move on to the Wednesday, which was the 18th of March, and the sun was shining. The blue sky covered our region emphatically, and it was both the best and the warmest day of the year. So much so that it did not feel like an ice hockey trophy was on the line, but it was. A sold-out Motorpoint Arena crowd in Nottingham were waiting for the 7:30 p.m. face-off with much anticipation, as were the small number who gathered outside the Skydome Arena to get the Moors travel coach to Nottingham that evening. We moved away from the Dragons' den at exactly 5:15 p.m. and we left Coventry via the city's football ground just as the sun was beginning to set. I was just starting to enjoy the journey when the coach unfortunately broke down as we were about to join the M42 off the M6 because the air bag went, meaning that it was unsafe to continue on this particular coach, rather unfortunately and much to our disappointment. However, as frustrating as it was, Goodriver Travel responded very quickly and efficiently, thus enabling us to change buses on the hard shoulder of the motorway, whilst also carrying our bags, hats, scarves, drinks, and the few raffle prizes that were on board as well. Despite the frustration of the breakdown, we eventually got to Nottingham and we were fortunate to stop in a bus stop immediately outside the venue, meaning that we were able to go straight in once our tickets had been scanned by security. The first glimpse of live action I caught, the clock was showing about 7 minutes left in the first period, although rather annoyingly I was in the wrong place because, well, guess what? I had never been to the Motorpoint Arena before and therefore I had no clue where I was going. So in the moment, I just followed everyone else. That meant going all the way back around to the other side. But at least the 6.5 minutes of the initial third remaining seemed to be the most exciting part of the game thus far, as the Blaze, led by Alessio Luciani, had a few grade A scoring chances. But Kevin Carr very quickly reminded them and the fans why he is one of the best goalkeepers of the league and why he was subsequently voted player of the tournament. The Blaze, however, eventually capitalised on their chances as Mike Pelec took advantage of the counter-attack launched by Jere Virtanen and Alessio Luciani in the 23rd minute, meaning that the hosts for the night claimed a well-deserved 1-0 lead. It was an edgy and tense affair, but the atmosphere was electric. You could hardly hear yourself think, and just when you thought it could not get any louder in a building that was already rocking, it seemed as though the roof was going to be raised when Mitchell Fossier found the back of the net to tie it up at 1 apiece when play was still in the second period. As the game edged closer to the final 10 minutes, Jakob Stridsberg hammered home a slapshot from the point as Robson was unable to cut the trajectory of the puck. It was 2-1 to Nottingham, and suddenly it was down to the Blaze to use their X-Factor players to try and force overtime. On 50 minutes and 58 seconds, Brendan Harris was penalised for high sticking, and although a controversial call in the moment, the Panthers got away with a large number of cross-checks in the lower back. So the Blaze did, let's be honest, deserve their power play opportunity. It was vital for them that they took advantage of the situation as time was gradually running out. And Elia Barriga, on song throughout the second half of this campaign, pounced on a loose puck in front of Kevin Carr as he made the most of the hard work done by teammate Grayson Constable, who had managed to centre the disc into the slot. From close range, Carr, the number 37, had no answers, although he was solid when getting in the way of Saucerman's and Virtanen's respective blue line attempts throughout the period. Discipline is always key in a final, and when Grant Mismash took a penalty with just 30 seconds or so remaining, it was desperation time for the Dragons. Their hopes of a trophy were suddenly hanging on a thread, but despite relentless Panthers pressure for 2 minutes across the space of 19 minutes due to the interval, they could not score as Kim Talberg and Jere Virtanen defended exceptionally well. Eventually, however, hard work and sacrifice was not enough for the Blaze. On 71 minutes and 29 seconds, the game was cruelly won by a slap shot from Didrik Henbrandt that hit the crossbar and went in. Brian Nemos and Mitchell Fossier got the assists, and it was pandemonium for the vast majority of the 6,287 people in attendance on the night. Ultimately, it was a first Challenge Cup trophy in a whole decade for Nottingham to go with their 2 trophies won recently. Winning is a habit, and Danny Stewart has led the Nottingham Panthers to 3 trophies in 11 months. And even though their chances of denying the Belfast Giants a league title are extremely slim, they will definitely have a chance to claim a second successive playoffs trophy on the weekend of the 18th and 19th of April, when the season comes to a close here in the United Kingdom. On that note, with the US collegiate team having been granted an opportunity to play at the Spengler Cup in Davos last December, I feel as though this group of Panthers players thoroughly deserve a chance to take part in the annual festive season showpiece event in 2026, so this coming winter. It is the least that Panthers fans deserve as a reward for the trophies that the team is winning at the moment. In front of their home fans, they will certainly give their all on playoffs final weekend, but they need to get there first. And at this current moment, they are set to play against the Coventry Blaze across 2 legs in what would be deemed as a revenge contest for Kevin Moore's team. However, there are still 2 weekends of the regular season to go, and so a lot could change between now and then, and that playoff card could look very different come just this time next week before the final 2 games are played. So there we have it. Just 1 week and 4 or 5 games remain for the Elite League teams to decide their fate in 2025-2026. Dundee and Fife battle it out to avoid last place, and rather interestingly, they have a back-to-back on Easter weekend. So it could well all hinge on that very last game at the Dundee Ice Arena on Sunday, 5th April, in what is definitely a season to forget for both of those Scottish teams. Belfast just need one win against the Panthers in their back-to-back this weekend to seal a title and subsequently a spot in next season's European Champions Hockey League. The Panthers are not out of it, but effectively the Giants have all but lifted the trophy. The Panthers have to win all of their remaining games, and the Giants have to lose all of their last games with no points gained in defeat in order to lose out on the trophy. Chances, more or less, 0. So Belfast will be playing in the Champions League again next season, but they will have to be much improved after poor performances against Zug, Lausanne and Luco last season. As for the other teams, it is very tight, and even though the daily EIHL Instagram account posted a current playoff picture board, it could look nothing like this time next week, as just a couple of points separate the Panthers, the Devils and the Steelers. There are also just 2 points between the Blaze, who are in 7th, and the Clan, who are in 8th. So the Dragons could yet finish 8th. So all of these remaining games are crucial for pride, rankings, and for determining who will face off against who in the quarter finals. Speaking of crucial games, myself and Ian Fleming, our 007 Live host today, will be going to the Sky Dome together this weekend as the Genting Casino Coventry Blaze take on the Cardiff Devils in a crucial encounter as both teams are trying to finish with a flourish. This certainly promises to be an interesting battle as the Welsh franchise have shut out the Blaze on both previous occasions at the Sky Dome this season. In the autumn, they skated out 3-0 winners before bettering that to put 5 past Robson on 27th December. Kevin Moore's team will be eager to go into the playoffs on top form, and they also have the disappointment of losing the cup final to put behind them. Granted, they beat the Five Flyers last weekend by 7-3, but it will be interesting to see how they cope with tougher opposition on Sunday afternoon. And just to remind you, if you haven't yet got your tickets, there is limited availability and face-off at the Sky Dome is at 5:30 p.m. It will be a cracker. You don't want to miss it. Thinking about Sunday then, make sure if you're there and when you're there to keep an eye out on both Matty Robson and Ben Bounds, as they are both going to Zurich in May to take on the host Switzerland, amongst other countries at this year's World Championships. Other Blaze players selected to cross the channel in 7 weeks or so include defender David Clements and attacker Jack Hopkins. So, congratulations to all 3 of those Blaze players. Max Stewart can count himself unlucky to miss out, as he has also played very well this season. Now, without further ado, I am just going to take a moment to quickly read out the squad in full. Jackson Whistle, Ben Bounds and Matt Robson are the netminders. The defenders are Travis Brown, David Clements, Nathaniel Halbert, Joe Hazeldine, Chris Inglis, Brad Genion, Mark Richardson, Josh Tetlow, and the forwards are Ollie Betteridge, Johnny Curran, Ben Davies, Robert Dowd, Jack Hopkins, Liam Kirk, Robert Lakowitz, Sam Lane, Cade Nielsen, Logan Nielsen, Sean Norris, Brett Perlini, Cole Shudra, and Josh Waller. Right then, if you wish to see Team GB in action before they head to Zurich to take on Switzerland, the USA, Finland, Germany, Latvia, Austria and Hungary, they play 2 games against Italy on home soil. There is a match taking place in Milton Keynes on the last Thursday of April, and there is another in Nottingham on Saturday, 2nd May. Tickets are available to purchase for these fixtures if you are interested. Right, that brings to an end today's Blockbuster Sports Show. Thank you very much for listening to me, Gregory Richardson, once again here on Puritans Radio, which is, of course, your favourite radio station. I hope that you enjoy your weekend, whatever you might be doing, even if that's gardening or watching the football. And I will be back as normal, same time, same place, right here on your favourite station next week with the more regular episode called Much Ado About Hockey. Ta-ra, take care, and see you next Friday.